Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Yogis that Inspire with Yoga Girl Ratika. And on this episode, I'm really honored to have my teacher for my 200 hours at YTT at Vikasa, Ram Vakkalanka. So Ram is a yoga philosopher, Sanskrit expert, meditation instructor, sitar artist, and kirtan leader. And what I particularly enjoy about Ram's teaching is he follows the Parampara system, where he echoes the teaching of the ancient Rishis and Yogis of India with relevance to current times, yet without any distortion or interpretive colouring. I really feel Ram is like a blessing to the yoga community, and I'm really honoured to have him here to support the yoga philosophy. And waiting for Ram to come on live and send me a video request. Namaste, Ram.
Namaste, Ratika. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really happy to have you on here.
Same here, same here. It's been a long time. Haven't
Yeah.
seen you. So great to see you and great to chat with you about yoga philosophy. And I think some of our friends are joining us. So it's great. Wow, awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Yeah, I'm currently in Vietnam and teaching as usual online for workshops and personal one-on-one coachings, all of that from Vietnam. Yeah. How are you?
Excellent. Oh, I'm really honored to have you on here. So I'm really excited to explore the wisdom that you've learned over the years that you share, and it's just my mind is so excited.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to see you and chat with you again.
Yes. Should we start with a mantra, as we usually do in your teachings?
Absolutely.
As in YTT, I remember.
Yes, absolutely. So let's sit straight wherever we are and bring our palms together near the heart and gently close the eyes. Take a deep inhalation, filling the lungs with fresh pranic energy, and slowly let it all go, completely emptying the lungs of the stale energy within. One more time, slow, deep inhalation, followed by a slow, deep exhalation. Let's take one more inhalation, this time for a chant of Om together. Om. Let me chant an invocation from the Veda. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yaschandasam Vrishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyo Dhyamritaat Sambhabhuva Samendro Medhaya Aspranotu Amrutasya Devadharano Bhuyasam Shariram me vicharshanam jihva me madhumattama karna abhyam bhuri vishruvam brahmana koshoshi medhaya pihitaha shrutam me gopaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much. You can open your eyes.
Thank you. Ram, can you please tell the listeners just very briefly the significance of that opening mantra?
Sure. First of all, one thing is very important to understand from a karmic viewpoint, physical viewpoint, as well as a spiritual viewpoint. Listening to one's own voice is very beneficial to everyone. It harmonizes certain energies within oneself. Now, listening to oneself doesn't mean yapping about politics and sports and weather. So listening to one's voice, chanting the mantras is very, very beneficial to oneself. It awakens and ignites certain energies within us, because our voice is basically rooted in our root chakra, the vibrations of our root chakra. So whenever we are speaking, again, chanting mantras is what I mean. Whenever we listen to our own voice, for every person, it is very, very beneficial because it serves the important purpose of awakening their root chakra and balancing their root chakra. So chanting is highly beneficial, especially chanting the Sanskrit mantras. I'm not sure if we are going to have a chance to speak about Sanskrit or not. The sounds of Sanskrit are basically the vibrations of the universe. So Sanskrit should not be considered on par with other languages. Okay, see, the languages of the world in the Vedic tradition are categorized into two. One is called Prakrutika, meaning these are the languages that are born in the world. Languages are born because a group of people come together and begin to use the same sounds in order to indicate the same object, right? This is how normally the languages are formed. And just like every other living being, language is also a living being. And it also has a time when it is born, a time for it to develop and flourish, meaning get more popular and be spoken by more and more people. But eventually, the languages, all the languages also change beyond recognition from where they originally began. This is considered as the death of a language. So languages also evolve. They are also born, they also evolve, and eventually they die. Sanskrit is an exception to this. Sanskrit is not the language of Prakriti, not of external nature, but rather the universe itself. So that being the case, the vibrations of Sanskrit are considered as the vibrations of the universe. And that is the reason Sanskrit is considered as the mother of all languages. Therefore, when we chant mantras in Sanskrit language, that serves the important purpose of awakening different vibrations within us, different energies within us. This is known as the principle of sympathetic vibration. So when there are two objects and they both have the same frequency of vibration, when you make one object vibrate, the other one automatically picks those vibrations up and begins to vibrate on its own. This is called the principle of sympathetic vibration. This is used a lot in music actually. So Sanskrit is also a powerful language. So when we use Sanskrit language, Sanskrit mantras, then certain energies get ignited within us. They also begin to vibrate. That is why many people all over the world tell me that even though they may not intellectually know Sanskrit language, they haven't taken any formal courses and so on. Whenever they listen to the vibrations of Sanskrit language, they somehow feel some energy within them. No, this is the scientific explanation of that. So listening to Sanskrit language has many, many benefits. Even physically also, it has been established that when we learn Sanskrit language, even the IQ level of the learners of Sanskrit language increases, even in adults also. Normally, by the time one is an adult, the IQ level is pretty much set. But when we learn Sanskrit language, then even our IQ level improves, our memory improves. So there are many, many benefits like this to chanting Sanskrit mantras.
And I just wanted to add that if people are interested in purchasing any mantras, you have them on offer. So
correct. If they would like to listen to the accurate pronunciation of mantras, etc., on my website, I have made available many CDs that I have recorded and on YouTube too. And for those of our friends who are watching, who are joining us here, my website is www.ramvakkalanka.com. Basically, my name. I also have a YouTube channel which they can visit and listen to mantras being chanted in an accurate and authentic fashion too.
Thank you for sharing that so freely as well on YouTube for people to listen. And Ram, thank you for that explanation. And I know growing up in India, you were naturally exposed to the Sanskrit in school. Can you please give us an insight into the moment that made you decide to dive deep into the study of yoga philosophy?
I think Sanskrit language and yoga philosophy are kind of karma that I brought with me from my previous lives. Because even when I was a child, like when I was 5 years old, I used to have these dreams that I'm standing in front of a huge audience and I'm giving some lectures, some talks, etc. I didn't quite understand what those dreams meant at that age, nor did I know the language which I was speaking in those dreams. But later on, maybe when I was 8 or 9, I was introduced to the Vedic way of life and Sanskrit language. So the moment I heard the language, I knew, oh, this is the language I used to speak in my dreams. Then it became very clear to me in that moment that whatever it is, this language is, I'm going to learn it and master it and do what I was doing in those dreams, which exactly is what I do these days. I give a lot of talks and lectures and teach about Vedic philosophy or yogic philosophy, Sanskrit language, Nada yoga, meditation, all these kind of wonderful spiritual sciences and also spiritual philosophies.
That's fascinating. So it came to you in a dream and you followed that dream.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
That's fascinating. And now, Patanjali is one of the most famous yoga philosophers that most in the modern yoga world know about. So,
Yeah.
which sutra from Patanjali resonates most with you and why?
We are beginning the talk with a very difficult question because Patanjali's Yoga Sutras have around 195 sutras and
Oh,
all
yeah.
of them are favorites of mine. So you are asking me a very difficult question to pick one sutra which is my favorite. Wow, that will take some time. Anyway, for the moment, there is one beautiful sutra that is coming to my mind. Ahimsa pratisthayam tat sannidhau vairatyagaha. Many people probably don't even pay attention to this sutra because generally yoga chitta vritti nirodha is very, very popular. Many yoga teachers have it at the tip of their tongue. Similarly, the sutras describing yama niyama asana pranayama pratyahara dharana dhyana samadhau ashtavangaha. This is the sutra that lays down all the 8 limbs of yoga. So these are generally some of the popular ones. But for the moment, somehow I'm getting this sutra. Ahimsa pratisthayam tat sannidhau vairatyagaha. Very beautiful sutra. What does it mean? As I said, it's a little bit obscure. Many people may not even know this sutra. This is in chapter 3 also, so a lot of people don't get there. Anyway, so
Chapter 3 is so short. Chapter 3.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe I need to correct myself. Maybe it is still in chapter 2. Anyway, let me explain the sutra here. Ahimsa is the first of the yamas, meaning by all the yamas and niyamas. So there is a reason why Patanjali talks about ahimsa first before he spoke about anything else, right? Ahimsa means non-violence. Okay? So not hurting any living being, meaning no living being should fear me. This is the oath that a yogi undertakes. That lack of fear means what? Meaning love. That is, so we need to understand it properly. Okay. So yogic practice is a commitment to love. Okay. Many people think yoga practice is about committing to a weight loss or a health and so on and so forth. Those are all actually incidental benefits to the practice of yoga. The goal of yoga is to transform you into love. So it's very, very important to understand that yogi does not love. Okay? Yogi does not love. Yogi is love itself. Okay? Similarly, yogi does not know. Yogi is knowledge itself. There is a huge difference when I say I love versus I am love. When I say I love, that also implies that I don't love. Usually we love our friends, we love our family members, we love our colleagues at work and so on and so forth. So the idea is that each and every one of us has like a circle of love, right? And in that circle of love, usually my friends, my family, my people I'm familiar with, the people that I work with, all of these are part of that circle of love. Everybody else is a stranger. I don't talk to strangers. I'm scared of strangers. I'm cautious with strangers. I don't get into cards with them. Well, nowadays we do, but so this is the approach we have. But for the yogi, there is no circle of love. Or another way of looking at it is, yogi's circle of love includes all living beings, not just the people who are, yogi's friends or family, stuff like that, or people who agree with him and so on. In yogi's circle of love, all living beings are included, even the animals, even the birds, even the insects. All living beings are within the circle of Yogi's love. So that is what this sutra is expressing. When we become like that, a field of love, when we radiate love, when we exude love, then even if someone comes near us with a harmful intent, they will be completely transformed by the vibrations of love that the yogi emanates, and they forget why they came to him first of all. They become beings of love themselves. It is like when you bring a piece of iron to a magnet, the iron also becomes a magnet. So that is how yogi infuses love into everything and everyone that are in his field of influence. So that is what this sutra is expressing. Ahimsa pratisthayam tat sannidhau vairatyagaha, meaning when one is firmly established in the principle of non-violence or love, then every living being forgets. Even natural enmity is forgotten in the presence of yogi. That is the greatness. That is the transformation into fields of love, into energetic fields of love that the yogi affects within all of us. So that is what this beautiful sutra expresses. Veda says that ahimsa paramo dharmaha. Dharma in this context means our duty in life. And ahimsa is considered as the foremost duty. Nothing else. Ahimsa, meaning love. Right? Non-violence, which another way of expressing it is love. So to love all beings, Atmavat Sarvabhutani. Bhagavad Gita says the same thing also. Atmavat Sarvabhutani, meaning to look at all living beings as oneself. There is no me, there is no you, there is no this, that, etc. We are all one. That is the ultimate message of yoga. Everything else is a practice to get us to this state of being love. Once again, yogi doesn't love. Yogi is love itself. Right? So this is the sutra somehow coming to my mind when you ask this wonderful question. So hope that answers your question.
I love that. Yogi is love itself. And other than Patanjali, can you please share one of your other favorite yoga philosophers?
Oh my God, Ratika, you are asking difficult questions today.
And which of the insights you enjoy? I know there's so many yoga philosophers, but not many people are aware. Well, of the different yoga philosophers. So, which one is another of your favorites?
I mean, since ancient till modern times, there are so many great yoga philosophers. Again, it is like picking a favorite yoga sutra. Very difficult. But if I think about it, personally, one of my all-time favorites in ancient times, from ancient times at least, is a great yogi, a great man called Adi Shankara. So Adi Shankara lived around 700 to 800 BC. That is the time frame. Even though some modern historians and authors have a little bit of confusion about this time. But anyway, let us focus on him. That Adi Shankara is one of the greatest philosophers of all time. There is no facet of yoga, there is no dimension of yoga that Adi Shankara hasn't touched. So Adi Shankara is actually considered as an incarnation of Shiva himself. Shiva is the teacher of yoga to the entire world. He is the Adi Yogi, meaning the first ever yogi. So Adi Shankara is considered as an incarnation of Shiva himself in recent times, in what we refer to as Kali Yuga in Indian astrology or Indian way of measuring time. And he lived a very short life, only 32 years or so. But he traveled throughout the length and breadth of India in those days. Like I'm talking about 2,000 years ago or even longer. And in those days, what we consider as India today used to extend from what we call as Afghanistan today all the way to what is called Singapore today. All of this area used to be known as Bharat in those days. Eventually, because of historical changes, foreign invasions, and so on and so forth, India has been split into and divided into so many countries. Imagine all the way from Afghanistan to Singapore, that whole piece of land was considered as Bharata. So, so such a vast piece of land. He traveled. He was born in the current state of Kerala, which is in the southernmost part of India. And from there to north, east to west, he traveled quite a bit, 3 times on foot, completely on foot. I mean, obviously, 3,000 years ago, there were no flights and trains, etc. So he traveled all over the country on foot 3 times and established very, very important seats of learning, meaning spiritual centers. Like, think of them as spiritual universities. They are called Peetham in Sanskrit language. And he revived the yogic philosophy, the Vedic philosophy, Vedic way of life, what people mistakenly consider as Hinduism in today's world. Otherwise, at that time, it was in a little bit of a degenerated state. So he revived the entire yogic philosophy, wrote 143 works in total in this short span of 32 years of life that he has had. And as I said earlier, there is no facet of yoga, no dimension of yoga that he hasn't touched. He explained Nada Yoga, he explained Swara Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja, Hatha, all of these things he has touched in his works. And he was also a great poet and a great visionary. So everything he writes is very, very poetic also. Oh, for example, about Ganesha, he wrote many beautiful poems. One such poem that is coming to my mind right now. Nitanta Kanta Danta Kanti Manta Kanta Katmajam Achintya Rupa Mantahina Mantaraya Kruntanam Rudantare Nirantaram Vasantameva Yoginam Tamekadantamevatam Vichintayami Santatam. See, it sounds like beautiful music, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's like a tongue twister. So it's one of his poems about Ganesha. So like this, he wrote many beautiful poems about almost all the deities, major deities of Bhakti Yoga. Similarly, he wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and Brahma Sutras to explain Jnana Yoga. Today, if we are able to understand Bhagavad Gita and study and get the inner essence of Bhagavad Gita, that is thanks to this great man called Adi Shankara. So like this, his contributions are numerous. Our whole time will be taken up if I really delve deeply into the life of, into the wonderful life of Sri Adi Shankara. So he's one of my definitely favorite yoga philosophers. And from recent times, Swami Vivekananda, another great man who is by and large credited with bringing yoga from India to the West in a proper light. He is one of my favorite yoga philosophers. And my own spiritual guru, Sri Ganapati Sachidananda Swamiji, who he's centered in Mysore, India, but travels all over the world, has established many branches of his organization all over the world. And he's a world-renowned Nada Yogi. He's also an amazing philosopher, the way he explains and expresses the teachings of yoga through music and musical lyrics, which are known as bhajan or kirtana in Sanskrit language. It's incredible, incredibly powerful and amazing, really. So these are some of my favorite yoga philosophers. Again, it's not easy to pick these names because I don't think disrespect to any other so many other great philosophers out there. But just these are the great souls and Mahatmas that are coming to my mind at this moment.
Is there a particular insight from Adi Shankara that you that it resonates with you the most at the moment?
Any teaching of Adi Shankara that's coming to my mind? Okay. There's a beautiful poem that is coming to my mind. Avinaya Mapanaya Vishnu Damaya Manashamaya Vishaya Mrugatushnam. Okay. Bhutadayam Vistaraya Taraya Samsara Sagarataha. So again, look at the beautiful poetry. Avinaya Mapanaya Vishnu, meaning is praying to Vishnu, the all-pervasive divine. Avinayam Apanaya. Avinayam. In simple terminology, Avinayam means lack of humility. So he's saying, please remove this lack of humility within us. We all have ego. That ego prevents us from being humble, from recognizing the divinity within other people, the people around us. Ego is what makes us think, oh, I am better than you, I am greater than you, I am better looking than you, I am richer than you, I am more powerful than you. So he's praying to the divine. Avinaya Mapanaya Vishnu. Okay, Damaya, Manashamaya, Vishaya, Mrugatrushnam. See how poetic it's, right? Ya, Damaya, Manashamaya, Vishaya, Mrugatrushnam. Meaning he's saying that please remove all these animalistic tendencies from within me, from within my heart, cleanse my heart. Okay, Bhutadayam Vistaraya. Again, Bhutadaya contextually means the same as Ahimsa. So he's saying, Bhutadayam Vistaraya, please expand love, the field of love within my heart. And Taraya Samsara Sagarataha, please free me from this illusory life that I am leading. It's a beautiful teaching, beautiful poetry from Adi Shankara. Again, he start so many great things. Okay? Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma swanushthiyatam, meaning Vedo nityam adhiyatam. Please chant Veda every day. Veda is a great scripture that is a compendium of all the spiritual teachings that have been known by humankind since ancient times. Vedo nityam adhiyatam taduditam karma swanushthiyatam. Whatever Veda says, this is your duty, this is how you have to live. Veda teaches us how to find the purpose of our existence. Many people, as I travel around the world and meet and teach, I realize they have no idea why they are born. So life is wasted on us if we do not know what is the purpose of life. It is like a journey that is directionless. We are just wandering around, right? As long as there is breath in our lungs, we are just wandering around. So whereas to find one's dharma and is like finding your destination, your destiny, your purpose in life. Raison d'être, that is the expression they use in French language. Very beautiful expression. Why we are on this planet. Right? So Veda teaches us how to figure that out so that we don't feel lost in life, so that we have a destination in life. Okay. So he's teaching that taduditam karma swanushthiyatam. Whatever Veda teaches, follow that. Because Veda is like a compass that shows us the direction of life, where we are going in our life. So it's a good idea for us to figure that out first, so that life does not end up being a directionless meandering through space and time. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that one. And is there something that comes to your mind about Swami Vivekananda that at the moment?
Lots of things. In my child, I was such a big fan of him. I still am.
Yeah.
That in my childhood, I used to know most of his lectures by memory. I could just recite his lectures and his works through memory. He's an amazing yogi. Earlier, I said that yogi does not love. Yogi is love. Yogi does not know. Yogi is knowledge. So these are all some of his beautiful teachings that are coming to my mind. The way he expresses and explains the meanings of ancient times with lots of relevance to our times. It's incredible. So these are some of his beautiful teachings. He used to always quote the Upanishads, saying that Uttishtha, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran Nibodhata, meaning arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So whatever may be your goal in life, somebody wants to become richest man in the world, somebody wants to become, a Fortune 500 CEO, somebody wants to become a monk, somebody wants to become an artist. Whatever it is, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran Nibodhata, meaning arise. So meaning he's driving us, he's inspiring us to take action, right? So if we are just being couch potatoes, we cannot achieve much in life. So he's saying, arise, awake, stand up, okay? And Prapyavaran Nibodhata, don't stop until you achieve whatever you set your mind to. So like this, he was a very, very inspirational author and speaker whose teachings resonate through so many generations. He lived from 1863 to 1902. So it's been more than 100 years he's gone. But still, his teachings and his sayings, they live on forever in the hearts of in the hearts that are inspired by him.
Oh, thank you for sharing your favorite passages. And as a kirtan artist, can you please explain how mantras originated and how mantra chanting is connected to yoga?
Let me explain the second question first, how mantra chanting is connected to yoga. and then we will talk about the origin of mantras. Okay. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, because of yoga, because of many people coming to yoga from their cultural background or their linguistic background, national background, etc. One of the side effects of this is that many people do not have a comprehensive understanding about what yoga is. Okay? So we have like a spectrum of understanding that people share about yoga. On one hand, end of the spectrum, we have these people who think, oh, yoga is this religion called Hinduism. When I practice yoga, basically I'm being converted to Hinduism. I don't want to convert to Hinduism. So there is that end of the spectrum. And on the other hand, there is the other end of the spectrum where people think yoga is a physical exercise, is a form of physical exercise, just like Pilates or various other systems of physical exercises, right? So these are, if we take these two as the two extremes of this spectrum of understanding that people have about what yoga is, there are so many things in between, right? So, but in all these things, people get lost. They think that there are many yogas. They think there is Iyengar yoga, there is power yoga, there is rocket yoga, there is this, that, so many things. So there is a lot of confusion in the minds of people about what yoga truly is, right? But if we look at the ancient scriptures on which from which we should draw in order to understand what yoga is, yoga is basically a union of the individual soul, or whatever you call it, individual energy or etc., with the cosmic. Okay, so there is an individual, there is a cosmic. Let me give you a simple example. I'm sitting here in this room and I'm talking to you. There is a vast space around me, correct? So now if I bring my palms together like this and hold them, then what happens? The space hypothetically is divided into two. One is the space which is enclosed within my palms. The other is this vast space around me, right? But is this division real? Strictly speaking, it is not real, right? So if, for example, if I remove my palms like this, if I separate my palms like this, then whatever the space was enclosed within my palms now has become one with the universal space, correct? Can I identify from this vast space, oh, this is the space that was enclosed within my palms? Not possible, right? So this my palms coming together is like our ego, our individual mind, which makes us think, oh, I am different from Ratika, I'm different from James, I'm different from all these people. So that is just a appearance. So the moment we remove that ego, then the individual becomes one with the universal. This is yoga. So any effort that gives you this result, strictly speaking, is called yoga. As simple as that. See, the idea is that yogic teachings are very simple. We have to let go of the complexity of our own mind in order to truly understand yogic teachings. And that is not easy. Even though yoga is very simple, the human mind which is trying to understand yoga is very complex. Therefore, they make yoga seem very complex. But yoga is very simple. Yoga is nothing complicated. Okay. So now the idea is that any effort or any system, any philosophy, any practice of spirituality that makes us realize that we are one with the universe and all the individual differences we see are just a skin deep, that can be called as a yoga. So this is the broad umbrella of yoga, if you will. And within this broad umbrella of yoga, there are many, many methodologies that yogis have given to us, which we can adopt to reach this state of yoga. So this is one of the important things to understand about yoga. Many people miss. Yoga is not a practice. Yoga is a state. And many people miss this fundamental truth about yoga. Many people think yoga is a practice. They have to buy Lululemon clothes and a yoga mat, etc., and then go to a place and practice. That is gross underutilization of the power of yoga. Yoga is a state. It's not a practice. But in common parlance, especially in current times, the practices which get us to this state are considered as yoga. It is okay. as long as we understand that at the end of the day, yoga is a state and not merely the practice that gets us there, right? So yoga is a practice. There are many practices that we can do in order to reach this state of oneness with the universe. So some, for example, some involve predominantly physical practices. We call that as Hatha Yoga. Okay, so they predominantly focus on the body, cleansing of the body, energy, etc., to transcend this limitation of feeling like an individual and becoming one with the universe. So here the idea is that there are three things when we look at a human being in yogic way of looking at it. They say that there are three things involved here. There is the body, there is the breath, there is the mind, right? So a human being is basically a combination of these three things: body, breath, and mind. Correct? We all have, this is what we refer to as mind-body system in simple terminology. So in this mind-body system, strictly speaking, it is the mind which creates this artificial idea of separation, that I am different, you are different, and everybody else is different, and we feel like we have to compete with each other, we have to fight with each other in order to win. You know, for me to win, somebody has to, everybody else has to lose. For me to gain, everybody else has to lose. All of these things are conditioned by, created by the human mind. So the goal is ultimately to transcend the mind. But to transcend the mind, different kinds of tools, different sets of tools are given to us by yoga. So there are many different types of yoga. So, I mean, in this sense, not in the sense of just asana practice. And among these, four are considered very important. Okay, one is called Raja Yoga, the other is called Karma, Bhakti, and Jnana. So in Raja Yoga, plus a mixture of Hatha Yoga, strictly speaking, is what is practiced mostly all over the world in yoga studios today. Okay, so Raja Yoga teaches us that, okay, there is a body, there is breath, there is mind. Somehow we got to learn to transcend all of this, especially the mind. So they say mind is the what is creating this artificial identity for you, and it is making you feel that you are not the divine, but you're rather a puny little being who has to fight for survival, and so on and so forth. So Raja Yoga, which is Yama, Niyama, Asana, all of these things, they give us the one set of tools and say, okay, practice all of these things, you will get to that state. This is Raja Yoga path. On the other hand, Bhakti Yoga path teaches us about the universe, especially the universal energy humanized in various forms. So this is what we call as a deity, okay, in English language. So they say that let us even though the universal consciousness is beyond names and forms, etc., it is very difficult for us to imagine that in an abstract manner, So they say that why don't we humanize this universal consciousness so that it is easy for us to relate to it, right? If I tell you, okay, Ratika, let's all close our eyes and let's meditate on something that has no name, no form, no shape, no qualities, then we'll be like, okay, so what am I meditating on again? Because the way human mind works is we need two things for human mind to grasp anything: a name and a form, right? So when we say the name Ratika, immediately what you look like comes to my mind. Similarly, the moment I look at you, oh, this is Ratika, the name comes to my mind. Name and form, these are the two handles by which the mind grasps anything. Whereas the divine is actually beyond all names and forms. This is the teaching of Veda. Many people do not know this and are not aware of this. So yogic teaching, essential yogic teaching, is that the divine is beyond all names and forms. Divine has no name, divine has no form. But at the same time, Ghruta Katinyavat, meaning that idea, that is very difficult for many people to understand. It's an abstract idea. So what they say, okay, look at this. This is someone with an elephant's face. So this is Ganesha. Okay. So this is a form of divine. So now you have a name and a form to fix your mind upon. Or look at this guy who's sitting, in a yogic posture and meditating. This is Shiva. Okay. No matter. Whoever it is, you can use that name and form as a tool of meditation, as an aid to concentration, meditation, and final experience of the divine, right? So this path is known as Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga. So in Bhakti Yoga, we take the divine who is beyond all names and forms. Okay, tasya pratima nasti. This is the teaching of yoga or Veda, meaning God cannot be represented in any way. This is the teaching of Veda and yoga. Many people don't know this. So it says tasya pratima nasti, but at the same time, it is difficult for the human mind to imagine something that has no name, no form. So they create all these multiple names, all these multiple forms. Ganesha, Shiva. While we are at it, why only male forms? Why not female forms too? Right? So Durga, Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, so many names and forms. It is like a buffet of all the deities. So God is only one, but manifestations of God are many. This is the important thing. Veda or yoga does not teach there are many gods. Many people make that mistake, fundamental mistake. Veda teaches there is only one God, but there are many manifestations of that one God. Whichever manifestation appeals to you based on your karma, you meditate on that and you connect with that same divine energy. Now, manifestation of the divine can happen in three possible ways. One is a form, a sacred form of the divine. So Ganesha looks like this. Ganesha has a big, beautiful belly. He has an elephant's head and so on and so forth. That is a form. Second thing is called Yantra. Yantra is often translated as sacred geometry. So Yantra does not involve humanized form, but rather geometric forms such as dots, triangles, squares, petals, this kind of shapes. So that is also a manifestation of the divine energy. Okay, divine is basically an energy. It is not a person, right? It is not any kind of form. It doesn't have any kind of form. But when it connects with the human mind, these are the different forms. Third one is sound form of energy. We all know sound is energy, correct? So divine can also manifest as sound form of energy. That is called a mantra. So Rupa, Yantra, Mantra. These are the three possible manifestations of the divine. So our Yantra and Rupa are perceived by the eye. Mantra is perceived by the ear, meaning sound. So a mantra is nothing but divine energy expressed in sound form. This is the simplest way of understanding mantra. But the technical meaning is Maranatha Trayate iti mantraha, that which uplifts us. Okay, when chanted, when repeated, is a mantra. So if we chant this mantra, basically that divine energy exists right in the form of that very sound of mantra. Well, mantra and energy are not two different things. They are one and the same. Mantra is not a symbol of the divine. Mantra is the divine. This making sense to you? Therefore, when we chant the mantras, that serves the important purpose of bridging the gap between our individual ego and the universe. So mantra, because mantra is a manifestation of the divine, it serves as the bridge that uplifts the state of divine realization. That is why mantra chanting is an important part and parcel of all yogic paths and all yogic practices. I hope that answers your question.
That definitely answers the question. Like it's one path through the ears that people can connect to the divine.
Absolutely.
And I think it makes like sense as well, because if people, for example, are born deaf, they have other options to connect to the divine through yantra and
Rupa. Yes.
Rupa.
Yes. Yeah. All of these are basically aids to meditation.
Yeah.
Because we need our mind to be focused on something. That is when meditation happens. So we either a form, a shape, okay, can serve that purpose, or a sound can serve that purpose. So when we use the sound as the means of connecting with the divine, that sound becomes known as mantra.
And where did it originate from? The mantras.
Vedokhila dharma moolam, meaning Vedic literature is the source of all mantras. There are said to be more than 8 million mantras in the Vedic literature. Okay, wow. So that's huge. Strictly speaking, there can be no limitation on the mantra. Okay, and where does it originate from? Mantra is basically a manifestation of the divine. So it arises from the divine itself. What does that mean? It is important, and it's a great question you asked, because Mantras are not products of human creativity or intellect. Okay? You cannot say this is the person who came up with this mantra. Okay? Nobody ever sat down and said, okay, before I finish this 6-pack of beer, I'm going to come up with a mantra for Ganesha. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So divine itself is the source of mantra. Okay? Not a human being. So human beings act only as the medium, the channels through which mantras have been received. So the enlightened souls of ancient India, enlightened yogis and rishis of ancient India, who channeled the mantras, they are considered as drashta in this case. Drashta means a visionary. So we can only have a vision of the mantra. We cannot create mantras. So we cannot say this is the gentleman who came up with this mantra. Not possible. But there, in some cases, we say this is the gentleman, this is the yogi who received the mantra. Because mantras come from the divine itself. Okay? They are not products of human intellect, human creativity, and so on and so forth. Such a thing cannot be called as a mantra, because that can only reach maximum intellectual level, whereas mantras transcend intellectual understanding. So this is one of the reasons why the intellectual meaning of the mantra is considered secondary to the vibrational energy of the mantra. So in the case of a mantra, the vibrational energy of the mantra is more important, even relative to its meaning also. Even if we don't understand the meaning of the mantra, if we pronounce it accurately, it creates the energy that it is supposed to create. It is like music, right? When we listen to music, we may not know what scale the music has been composed in and what scale it is being played in, what tones are exactly being played, what notes, etc. But nonetheless, we enjoy music. Correct? We don't have to get that level of technical with music. Same thing with mantra also. Whether we know the meaning of the mantra or not, whether we like the mantra or not, whether we believe in the mantra or not, if we listen to the mantra or chant the mantra, then mantra will create that energy. Because mantra is embodiment of energy. Right? When you touch the fire, whether you touch the fire knowingly or unknowingly, fire will burn. Let us say a little child goes and touches the fire. Fire is not going to go, oh, he's a little child, he doesn't know I burn, so let me not burn. No, it will burn. Mantra, fire does its job unfailingly. Same thing with mantra. Even if we listen to the mantra, if we chant the mantra, whether we like it or not, know it or not, believe in it or not, none of these things matter to the mantra, because belief is a matter of opinion and conditioning. Truth is beyond all conditioning. So opinions should be changed based on the truth. Truths cannot be changed based on opinions. This is very important to understand. At one point of the time, people on the western part of the globe, they believed that Earth is flat. Right? Just because they believed that Earth is flat, Earth did not become flat. Earth has always been a globe. Whether we believe in it or not, Earth continues to be a globe. Correct? So our beliefs have to be changed according to the truth. We cannot expect the truth to change according to our belief system. So same thing with mantra. Mantra is a truth. It is not a matter of belief. It is not a matter of faith. And certain things will be truths, whether we believe in them or not, whether we like them or not, whether we approve them or not. Truth doesn't change. Truth doesn't care.
Is it more beneficial to chant the mantra than listen to it?
If we look at the ancient texts, they say, Yah pathet shrunuyadapi, meaning he who chants, he who recites, or he who listens. Both of them will get the same energy, energetic impact, energetic benefit. However, it is easier for the human mind to focus when we are chanting than when we are listening. Right? There is more chance that our mind will get distracted and escape when we are listening, rather than when we are actively chanting. So that is why actively chanting is better, at least in the beginning. Okay. Eventually, when our mind begins to focus and concentrate, at that time, even listening to the mantra being chanted will give us equal amount of energy, equally beneficial. But in the beginning, it is a good idea to chant. As I mentioned earlier, when we chant our mantras and listen to our own voice, then it harmonizes certain energies within us. That is beneficial to us at multiple levels: physical, emotional, mental, as well as spiritual. So it is a good idea to begin with chanting the mantras. But of course, you also have to listen to the mantra being accurately chanted, so you can also learn the same thing and continue with that wonderful journey.
So people could also have a mantra music in the background while they're going about their daily chores or activities and still reap the subconscious benefits of having that music and chanting in the background and receive the vibrational benefits in their being. That's one practical tip, I suppose, for people who are busy and active and still want to have the benefits of the mantra in their life.
Absolutely. I mean, listening, even casual listening has its own benefits when it comes to mantra or Nada Yoga style of music, etc. But every day, I think we should dedicate at least some time to focus on mantra chanting to the exclusion of every other thing. Okay, I understand many people say, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time for all of this. I'm reminded of a famous Buddhistic teaching. They say that everybody should meditate at least 15 minutes a day. Unless you are too busy, in which case you should meditate 1 hour. So,
oh my gosh,
so
I did. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I did the Vipassana and he said he recommends 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. I thought, oh my God.
See, we usually find time for things which we prioritize. Right? So when somebody says I'm too busy, what they are saying is this is not a priority for me. Correct? That needs change at a different level. It is not a matter of time at all. It is a matter of your priority. That means this is not a priority to you, right? So when we change our priorities, automatically we will find time for mantra chanting and meditation and so on and so forth.
And those benefits, will flow into their other areas in their life.
Absolutely. Because mantra transforms you into a field of energy. You are transformed. So that extends into everything that you do in life.
And speaking of mantras, you did a YouTube video highlighting the many benefits of practicing the Om mantra. So do you practice this mantra every time you do a physical practice in asana? The Om mantra?
Very beautiful question. Brahmanaha pranavam kuryad adavantete sarvada sravatya nom krutam purvam parastacha vishiryate. This is the teaching of yoga philosophy about chanting Om. So Veda is teaching us that before we undertake any kind of study, at the beginning as well as at the end, we should chant Om. Otherwise, what happens? Vishiryate, meaning whatever we studied, that becomes ineffective. We forget it. It doesn't stick to our mind. So yoga practice, asana practice, even though it looks like a physical practice and people have different objectives in their mind for asana practice, it is actually a study, right? When we are doing the asana practice, Surya Namaskara, whatever you do, it's a study. You are studying your own body. You are studying your own breath. You are studying your own prana and how to integrate all of these things and how to be one well-integrated human being rather than different parts, right? Rather than a disintegrated being. So asana, every session of asana practice, every session of yoga practice is a study. It's a study of your own self. It's a study of your own mind. It's a study of your own fears. It's a study of your own emotions. Correct? So many things come up when you are really focused on that practice. Even when you are not focused also, so many things keep coming from inside, right? Why? Because asana practice is a spiritual practice. Many people mistakenly think it's a physical practice. They think that, oh, I'm going to look good if I do this, I'm going to lose weight and so on and so forth, which is okay. But they are the incidental benefits of asana practice. Asana practice is actually a spiritual practice. How? Why? If you look at the asanas, the yoga postures, most of them are imitating the postures of animals, birds, and so on, right? We have lion pose, we have tiger pose, we have dog pose,
fish
we have cow pose, fish pose, and so on. So the question we should ask, why? Why is it like this? We are human beings. Why don't we take the posture of human beings? There is no Manushyasana. There is no human posture. There is a dog posture. There is a cat posture. There is a eagle pose, but no human pose. How come? Because the idea is that human being is a summation of all these animals and birds. So yoga teaches us that when we are evolving, we evolve through all of these forms of life. Okay. First, we evolve through subatomic consciousness, meaning we are basically the minerals in the ground. That is where life begins. Then from minerals in the ground, we evolve to plant form of life, plant kingdom. Then eventually we come to animal kingdom, then bird kingdom, and ultimately we become human beings. But the tendencies of all of these things are in our mind. Okay. So there is the tendencies of a snake in my mind. There is the tendencies of a tiger in my mind, of a lion, of an eagle. All of these are present still within my subconscious mind, within the layers of my subconscious mind, right? Even modern medicine, even though this is a yogic teaching, modern psychology also is coming to the same conclusion. They say there is a reptilian brain, meaning that's where the tendencies of a all reptilian forms of life are there in my brain still, right? So when we are doing all these postures, when we take that snake posture, Bhujangasana, okay, so what happens? All the tendencies of a snake are coming to the surface and they are leaving me. I'm giving a closure to all these animalistic lower forms of life and the tendencies of those lives. So this is how even asana practice is a spiritual practice. Even though it looks like a physical practice, many people make it a physical practice, it still carries a lot of spiritual benefits. Okay, this is how we get rid of all those animalistic tendencies, because our journey is from being animal to human to divine. So now we want to go from human to divine, not human to animal. So we got to let go of the weight of all these animalistic tendencies from within the deeper layers of our mind. So as much as practice of yoga poses looks like a physical practice, it is actually a spiritual practice. So when we are imitating the form of an animal, of a tiger, of a lion, of an eagle, okay, our prana is also flowing in that way, and prana impacts the mind, the subconscious layers of the mind, and helps us get rid of those animalistic tendencies so we can journey towards the divine. This is the deeper reason, spiritual reason behind asana practice. That is why Patanjali said yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, etc. If the purpose of asanas was merely weight loss, then Patanjali would have written yama, niyama, jogging, pranayama, pratyahara. Correct?
Yes.
You can lose weight with jogging. You can lose weight with running. You can lose weight weightlifting. But Patanjali did not say yama, niyama, weightlifting, pranayama, etc. Patanjali said yama, niyama, asana. It's a spiritual practice.
That is such a fantastic and intelligent way of articulating the different animals and poses and that we use in the asana practice to get rid of those subconscious layers of our mind. And it makes sense because when I do something like simhasana, like that, sticking your tongue out and breathing out, you feel different breathing that way, like that lion's breath compared to just a normal breath. You feel like you're letting go. Well, I feel like I'm letting go of that fireness and the tenacity to be more at peace if that is off balance in my state. So that is such a great explanation. I learned a lot from that. Thank you. And I also loved how you said, because almost the only mantra that I've experienced in modern yoga practice classes, the Om mantra. And it makes sense, like you said, do it at the start in the practice and at the end of the practice. So I guess one should also try and do that for their own self-practice. Om at the start, or even at this, would it benefit even at the start of the day and at the end of the day, as the day is the entire yoga practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Om is the root of all mantras. Omit ekaksharam brahma, omit ekaksharam param, omit ekaksharam jnatva, yo yadichyasi tasya tat. This is the teaching of the Veda. Meaning, omit ekaksharam brahma, the one vibration of Om is the Brahman, meaning the all-pervasive divine. So if we want to if we connect with the divine and seek to express the divine through one sound, Om is that sound. Om is that vibration. The humanly utterable, vocable sound is Om. There is a lot of meaning, philosophy, lot of depth to Om. Maybe some other time we can talk all about those things. So Om is the one sound that connects us. Is like the bridge that connects us with the entire universe. Some people say from Om comes Amen, which Christians use as a sacred word. And from Om comes Amin, which Islam uses as the sacred word too. Anyway, so this is what some scholars say. So Om is the basis of all of this entire universe. Again, Om has many, lot of signification, lot of deep layers of meaning. We'll talk about them hopefully some other time. But chanting Om anytime is going to be highly beneficial.
Thank you. And guys, I highly recommend to watch that YouTube video by Ram on Om mantra and its benefits. It's a very good explanation. And it's not that long as well. It's a very short video. So on YouTube that I've watched. Now, Ram, what is your favorite lesson? I know I said your favorite lesson because there's so many from the Bhagavad Gita. But what can you please let us know one of your favorite lessons?
We are almost over an hour. I hope IG doesn't cut us off. So let me quickly explain that, answer that question.
I think I Googled it and IG said we can go up to 4 hours, but
wow. Okay.
I think so. Unless, are you on time constraints? Then I can shorten it.
No, that's okay. Let's. I mean, we are having a great conversation, and a lot of friends seem to join us. So let's continue with this. As you said, Bhagavad Gita contains a lot of wisdom. There is practically no aspect of life that Krishna does not share wisdom upon in this beautiful text, sublime text known as Bhagavad Gita. Again, you are asking me very difficult questions by asking me to, pick up one little thing from out of so many beautiful things. Each one of them is a diamond. But there is one quotation from Bhagavad Gita, one teaching from Bhagavad Gita that is coming to my mind. Krishna says, Uddharet atma natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Meaning he's saying, Uddharet atma. So he's saying, uplift yourself. Okay, help yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to come. No guru is going to come. Nobody else is going to come to help you and uplift you. You stand up on your own 2 feet and you help yourself. Natmanam avasadayet. Don't pull yourself down. Okay, you support yourself. You love yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. These are all the things that are embedded into this wonderful shloka, this wonderful poem that I am chanting. Atmaiva bandhuratmanaha, meaning you are your best friend, but you can be your worst enemy too. So this is the teaching of Krishna thousands of years ago, around 6,000 years ago from now, right? Bhagavad Gita, in a manner of speech, is the probably the first ever motivational book of recent time. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita is filled with so many beautiful teachings like this. So Krishna is saying, be kind to yourself, first of all. Support yourself. You have to uplift yourself with your own efforts. Okay, thinking that somebody is going to come, some guru, some god is going to come and uplift you and change you. That's futile. You have to make the effort by yourself. Why? And this you can apply to any aspect of life, even in our day-to-day life also. So if we take, for example, unfortunately, some people are addicted to negative things like smoking, etc. So every time before I take that puff, I need to think, when I smoke this, am I being my friend or am I being my own enemy? Because that's the choice we face every moment of our life. When I make this decision, when I think this thought, when I have this kind of self-dialogue with myself, am I supporting myself? Am I being a friend of myself or am I being an enemy of myself? Am I pulling myself down? So when we think like this, when we use this test that Krishna is giving us, every moment you think, with every thought you think, before you say, oh, I can never be as good as that person. Oh, I can never be as rich as that person. Before that very thought crosses your mind, you think, if I think this thought, by thinking this thing, am I being my friend? Am I uplifting myself? Am I supporting myself or am I pulling myself down? Right? If we use that test, a lot of the negativity that we carry, unfortunately, the burden of negativity we carry, the practice of negative self-talk, all of these things will vanish from our life. So for me, that's a very, very powerful teaching, originally coming from Krishna, in terms of how we have to approach ourselves, because everything begins with ourselves. Right? If you go into the flight, they make an announcement before the flight takes off that, if there is a reduction in the cabin pressure, they say oxygen mask will drop. And they say, first put your own oxygen mask before you can help other people. That's a very important teaching. That's a very important spiritual teaching. First, you put your own oxygen mask on before you can help others. Same thing, right? So first, all development begins with ourselves. We are accustomed to finding faults with other people, right? We always want to improve everybody else around us other than ourselves. Everybody else is wrong. I am right, always. This is exactly opposite. So Krishna says, you be your friend. You support yourself first, right? Then when you are a light, then everything around you will be lit.
I love that.
If I am filled with darkness, I cannot help others. I need to be filled with light myself before I can be of service to others, before I can be of help to others. That is the purport of this wonderful teaching from Krishna. Again, Bhagavad Gita is filled with so many beautiful things, right? So difficult to pick one thing. But off the top of my mind, this is what's coming to me.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's really beautiful and so applicable to time, all the time, all the time we have really with ourselves. And I know you mentioned the definition of yoga, that yoga is love. But there are different interpretations and definitions of yoga, like union, for example. But I suppose, which definition resonates the most with you and why?
Again, as you said, yoga has many definitions. From a linguistic viewpoint, yoga means joining together, okay, or union, and so on and so forth. But from an interpretative definition, Krishna actually gives many different definitions to the word yoga. So, for example, Krishna says, Samatvam yoga uchyate, jaya jayau labha labhau, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Meaning, Samatva means equanimity of mind. Whether you win or lose, whether you gain or lose, whether you are rich or poor, through pain or pleasure, maintaining the same state of, the same tranquil, peaceful state of mind is considered as yoga by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, Krishna also says, Yasmin sthito dukkhena gurunapina vichalyate. Meaning, yoga is that state. Remember, mind you again, yoga, Krishna is describing yoga as a state, defining yoga as a state, not as a practice. So he's saying, Yasmin sthito. Sthiti means a state of being. So yoga is that state where even the worst kind of tragedy does not disturb your inner peace of mind. This is another beautiful definition Krishna is giving. Similarly, Krishna also defines yoga as art of living. Okay? Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Karma means activity, strictly speaking. Okay, meaning so life itself is filled with so many activities, right? So yoga, Krishna is saying a little bit interpretatively here that yoga is the art of living. Living in modern times is not an easy affair. We think that we are technologically advanced and more progress. We have all of these scientific innovations and so on. They're all great, but life itself has become more complex. If you compare with life, the way people used to live 50 years ago to now, definitely it has become more complex. Living is becoming easier. Life is becoming more complex.
Yeah.
Right? Smartphones, electronic gadgets, they make living simpler. But life itself is more complex now, if you think about it. So Krishna is saying, yoga is the art of living. In such times, how do you maintain your inner peace? Very, very big challenge, not an easy affair. From the moment you wake up, one company says you have to eat my brand of cereals, then you will be happy and healthy. Another competing brand says, no, no, that brand is not good. I have more things in this. You eat this, then you will be happy. How do you make a decision? In today's world, you don't know. We don't know what we are putting into our bodies. We don't know what we are allowing to come into our minds. We don't know what we are allowing to touch our hearts. We don't know what is being truly represented, what is being truthfully represented, and what is being misrepresented. There was a great American author called Mark Twain. He said, if you read the newspaper, if you don't read the newspapers, you are uninformed. If you read the newspapers, you are misinformed. So it is a choice between being uninformed and misinformed. This applies to everything in life. We have no idea what we are breathing. We have no idea what we are drinking. We have no idea what is going into our bodies in the name of food. So living is not easy. As I said, living is becoming easier, but life is becoming more complex. Right? So we are assailed, we are assaulted on so many fronts by so many things, good, bad, ugly, all of them are there. So in such a world, how do you still maintain your peace? That is yoga. That is yoga. So to me, among all of these so many definitions of yoga that are available to us from a linguistic viewpoint, grammatical viewpoint, interpretative viewpoint, all of these things, yoga karmasu kaushalam appeals to me most. Again, this is my personal opinion. Everybody can have their
I love
personal
that.
opinion. So how do you live peacefully in these times? How do you live so that you don't harm anybody, but at the same time, don't let anybody harm you either? How do you see the divine in everyone when there are so many destructive forces around us? How do you find the truth when there is so much untruth around you? Not an easy affair. Not an easy affair at all. Right? So much negativity around us. So we have to live. We are surrounded by negativity, but we have to live with negativity, among negativity, but you cannot afford negativity to be within you. Okay? You are surrounded by negativity, but negativity cannot be within you. That will ruin our life. That will destroy the humankind. So how do we live like that? Not an easy affair. So yoga is the light that shows us how to live like that. It is not merely a practice, not merely holding your breath, not merely bending your body this way, that way, and the other way, or any of those things. Yoga is the light to your life.
That's a beautiful explanation. So thank you so much for sharing your personal opinion. And
Thank you.
Yeah. And after your education, Ram, especially with the earliest of spiritual texts, the Samkhya philosophy, what do you think is the meaning of life?
Very difficult question again. Why do we think life has a meaning? Why does life have to have a meaning? Right?
Yeah.
We always ask the question, what is the meaning of life? Who said life has to have a meaning? Okay? Life, if anything, the meaning of life, the purpose of life is to have
live.
fun.
Or to have fun. I love that.
Yes.
I always say the meaning of life is to live.
Yeah, why do we want to live? To have fun.
Yeah.
This is called Leela.
Leela.
The Sanskrit word is Leela. Leela means playful, play, sport. I'm just using the word fun. And by fun does not mean, pumping more red wine into your body or pumping more, running after the sense pleasures. That is not the only meaning of fun. Basically, the teaching of yoga is this. We are divine beings. We are not human beings. We are divine. We come to this world and evolve through all these different forms of life. Why? Because the divine wants to have fun. That's all. What else does the divine have to do? Divine doesn't have any obligation. Divine doesn't have to work for retirement. Divine has no worries. No, divine came in the form of all these living, non-living beings to enjoy, to have fun. That's why we are here. But the thing is, we forget this purpose. We take things very seriously, right? Then we have polarization in our opinions, in our ideologies, etc. Consequently, conflicts, and we forget the purpose of having fun. We forget that we came here to enjoy life. just to feel how it feels to be a living being. So the divine came in the form of that fly to see how it feels to be a fly. Divine came in the form of that lion to see how it feels to be a lion. Divine came in the form of that tree to see how it feels to be a tree. Divine came in the human form to see how it feels to be human. But there is this thing called mind that makes us forget that. Consequently, we take life a tad too seriously. Then we lose all fun. We lose all.
Yeah, and I think
Then
it's
we
so.
get heart attacks.
Oh my
We
God.
get heart attacks. We hate each other. We fight with each other. We kill each other. Whatever may be the reason, whatever may be the cause, right? This is what happens in reality. But if you remember, we are here to enjoy life, enjoy being alive, but without causing pain to other people. That's the critical thing. Without causing pain, inconvenience, grief to other people. Right? Again, enjoyment here does not mean only sensual enjoyment, even though it can be part of the journey, that is fine. But we are here to feel alive
To
without
experience.
causing harm, without causing pain to other people. That's the critical thing we should never forget. Okay, I can enjoy, but doesn't mean it has to come at the expense of someone's tears. Right? That is the purpose of life. Everything else is created by human being. Okay, even the concept of life having a meaning is a conception of mind. Who said life has to have meaning? What is meaningful? What is meaningless, for that matter? Every flower that is part of the creation, every thorn that is part of the creation, adds its own beauty to the creation. So the moment you are born, the moment you are created, your purpose is already achieved. Divine takes care of that purpose. We are nobody to find and fight about it and clamor about it. We don't need to. As long as we can go through life being in the moment, not worrying about the past or future, your life purpose is achieved. It is already meaningful. Every breath you take is meaningful. Every time you bat your eyelid, that is meaningful. There is a lot of energies that are making it possible. It is not you. There is an energy called kurma that makes you bat your eyelids. There is an energy called naga that makes all the signals in the body flow through from the mind through the nervous system. So universe takes care of every little thing for you. We don't really need to worry about anything, but we worry. That is the human tendency. That is the human tendency. And in the process, we forget that we are here to enjoy simply being alive. Look at the plants. Do they worry about what is the purpose of life? Why I am here? No.
And
Look
the
at the flower.
animals don't
Flower doesn't
worry.
ask any. Yeah, flower doesn't ask questions. Flower is just there. It's being beautiful. It just gives out its fragrance. That's all. So just to be is the purpose of your life. That is the meaning of life. Every other meaning is artificially created by the human mind.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. It's a very soothing way of looking at it if you're stressed or anxious about any situation. Just listen to that. You speak about the meaning of life and you're like, oh, whatever, and just enjoy the moment.
Exactly.
Whatever unfavorable outcome may have happened, just be like, let it go and just enjoy life again.
So the idea is we are labeling everything, right? This is pain, this is pleasure, this is favorable, this is unfavorable.
Yeah.
This is human mind labeling. That labeling, the moment that labeling stops, then the purpose of life will be realized itself.
That's so true. And this is another question that I often think about karma. And if we choose not to believe in the concept of karma, does that mean we aren't subject to its to its outcome? If we don't believe in that concept altogether? In other words, if it's not my reality, say if I do a bad deed, for example, not that I intend to, but then after the deed is committed, I think, okay, I imagine I don't believe in that anything bad is going to happen to me. Does that mean I won't receive the karma back into my life? That's just a short and simple question, example, but do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. The answer is very simple. As I mentioned earlier, some things will be true whether you believe in them or not, because truth has very little to do with your opinion. Our opinion is basically convenient to. We form opinions based on our convenience, our conditioning, okay, our way of thinking and so on. Truth is not going to change to suit our beliefs. Belief has to change. Individual belief, individual faith has to change to be in harmony with truth, not the other way. Okay. So if you believe that every action has a reaction, which in the world, in the Western world, they study as a scientific principle, karma is the same thing applied to human behavior, right? So every action has a reaction is presented and taught as a physical law, a law that applies to physical things, right? Same thing if you apply to human behavior, we call it as karma in Sanskrit. So every karmic action has its own reaction. So if we believe in scientific thought, then we have to believe in the law of karma. Cannot deny that. Cannot deny that. And in any case, whether we believe in it or not, certain laws, certain principles, certain truths, they continue to govern us. We have a responsibility to change our opinions to be in harmony with those laws and principles, rather than expecting those laws and principles to cater to our opinions. So the answer is, whether you believe in it or not, karma is a universal law, is a universal principle. It makes sense. That is how it will be.
Thank you. That makes sense. And that's at Newton's law as well. Every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. So
many people are taught that it is Isaac Newton who gave this law. But thousands of years before Sir Isaac Newton was born, there was a Rishi called Kanada in India. He is the one who actually proposed this law, that every action has a reaction.
Okay, thank you for sharing that and giving this Rishi the light, acknowledgement of this genius perspective. And so what principle of living in harmony with nature from a Vedic perspective do you feel is lacking in the modern world today?
The right question will be, which principle of law, living in harmony with nature, man has not violated? That is the right question.
Oh my God.
It
That's
is
so
not
sad. That's so sad. We have not violated. Wow.
It is a sad truth of the day.
Yeah.
So if you look at Veda, Veda is not only a compendium of spiritual laws, Veda is also a compendium of scientific laws, scientific principles. In Veda, these are called dharma. So a lot of things which we think of as innovations of modern science actually can be traced back to the Veda. Okay, mathematics, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, mining, all of these can be traced back to Veda. Veda contains all of these, what we consider as science and branches of science today. Okay, so in the Vedic Rishis knew about, for example, take mining, okay, which involves digging the earth and extracting things out of the earth, like metals like gold or iron and steel, not steel, iron and so on and so forth. So Rishis knew all of these things. So in the Veda, it is stated that the womb of the earth contains many valuable things. So Rishis knew that you can mine all of these things from the ground, but they forbade it. Why? Because that involves harming the ecology, harming the environment, harming this planet. And when we harm this planet, we are harming not only other living beings, but also ourselves. Many people, unfortunately, still don't seem to get this, right? So in the name of so-called scientific progress and industrialization in the last 100 to 150 years, we have brought the planet to the brink of extinction. Whereas the teachings of Veda give highest priority to preserving nature, not harming ecology. So Vedic teaching is like, in a manner of speech, anti-consumerism. Veda teaches not producing more than you need in order to satisfy your greed. Right? Veda always taught it is a good idea for you to rein in your desires. Okay, so during the Vedic times, they still used to produce things, but they were produced to order. They were made to order rather than made to stock. In today's world, we are always producing to stock, right? From the smallest thing like a piece of clothing, all the way to cars and so on and so forth, which are more taxing on the environment. Everything is produced to stock in modern world in the name of industrialization, consumerism, and choice, and so on and so forth. But Vedic teachings always advised the humankind to focus on not harming nature. So even though Vedic Rishis knew about many sciences, they did not encourage all sciences. They did not. In the Vedic, the Rishis never invented a machine. They never created any scientific equipment. They never created a stethoscope. They never created a telescope or a microscope, nothing. Why? Not because they didn't have the intelligence to do that, but they thought that all of these things involve harming nature. So they didn't want to go near anything that involves harming the nature. They knew about them, they talked about them in very brief forms, but they never went into the details of it. Whereas spiritual practices and other things which do not involve harming the ecology, they went quite deeply into them and explained a lot of wisdom to us. Again, it will take me hours and possibly days to go through the details of the teachings of Veda here. We cannot do that. But in a manner of speech, we are violating almost all principles of nature. Just the latest things that I read was, one thing is, because the earth is, because of global warming, as a means to contain global warming, they want to dim the sun.
They want to dim the sun?
They want to dim the sun to make sure that lesser light of the sun reaches the earth. Very risky proposition, because we are solar beings. We come from the sun. Without sun, we will be depressed. Some people commit suicide in some regions of the world because they don't get enough sunlight. Very risky proposition. And the latest thing that I just read in the news yesterday or day before somewhere was that they are thinking of changing the orbit of the earth. Why? So there is a great actor, a Hollywood actor. Sorry, his name is not coming to me, but he said something wonderful. I would like to quote him here. He said, the Western scientists are so obsessed with the idea of if it can be done, that they rarely pause to think if it should be done. I think it's Jeff Goldblum who said that. So today we have reached a stage where we are so obsessed with the idea of if it can be done, that we rarely pause to think if it should be done. Is it really a good idea to do something? Even if you can. Is that a good idea to do it? We need to pause and think about that. Then we will have a different humankind inhabiting this planet. We will have angels inhabiting this planet who protect other forms of living and the planet and the life and living beings on this planet, rather than the people we have today who destroy this planet. We cannot take care of this planet, but we want to go colonize other planets. Sometimes I wonder why.
That is such a good point. We want to go explore and venture into outer space when we can't take care of the space that we're inhabiting right now.
So there's a lot of irony behind that. Anyway, it's a larger issue and merits its own discussion and so on. But these are the things we need to think about as the most intelligent and most evolved beings, species of life on this planet. We have a responsibility towards the entire planet. That is what Yogis and Rishis and Veda, Yoga always taught us.
Thank you so much for bringing that to light. And sometimes I'm not proud of the species that we are. But this is one of those moments when you think like, oh my God. Well, but at least I can say, I can only control myself and my own actions and choosing wisely how I would like to spend my time on this planet.
Yes.
And okay, this is a bit of an off-topic question, but what does your personal morning and evening routine look like?
My personal morning and evening routine.
Other than the brushing the teeth and combing hair and all that.
Yeah, I was going to start there actually. Thanks
Yeah.
for letting me know. Usually I wake up around 5 o'clock. And then after the morning cleansing rituals, I do some pranayama, light pranayama, that involves different pranayama kriyas. Then usually I shower and I have a lot of mantra chanting, etc. to do. This is called puja. I am also into what is called Shri Vidya. So I practice a lot of Shri Vidya, which is praying to the cosmic feminine energy. It's a part of Vedic philosophy as well as Tantric philosophy also. And then of course, I go through my day of teaching and so on and so forth, writing books and all these kind of things. Then usually in the evening also, I have a puja routine. Okay. And sometime between 4 and 5, sometimes I either do asana practice or I go to play sports. I like table tennis, ping pong.
Ping
So
pong.
sometimes,
Yeah.
so I sometimes play the game or sometimes do yoga, asana practice, and then shower again, and then again it in a little bit of puja, chanting, mantra chanting, etc. And usually I also teach in the evening also some classes, especially because I'm in eastern part of the world these days in Vietnam, and this my evening will be like the daytime for North Americans and Europeans. So I teach again in the evening. Then my day ends usually with another meditation and then going to sleep. So in a nutshell, that is my daily schedule. But there's a lot of variety in what I do. I have different students, different sessions. I'm also an astrologer, professional astrologer. So I do karmic readings, etc. for people, offer them guidance and advice in terms of their life and life's affairs and so on. It's a fairly interesting daily routine. At least that's how I like to see it.
Thank you for sharing that. And how many hours a day do you spend doing your mantra? It seems like a lot. And puja. How long would you say?
If you add the morning and evening, it will be probably around 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
It depends on the day, because
sorry, Ram. I think depending on the day. Okay, thank you. And the last question is in one of the Vedas. I think it's Rig Veda. I believe it mentions let your noble thoughts. Oh no, that's not a question. That was my closing statement. But is there anything else? I think that was my last question. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go? Anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I would like to first of all thank you for having me during this session on IG. And thanks to all the friends who have joined us from different parts of the world. I see some people have joined us from India, from many places. So I would like to thank all of them for their support. Okay, if you would like to find out more about me, please visit www.ramvakkalanka.com. I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Please feel free to connect with me anywhere. Okay? Thank you so much, Ratika.
Oh, thank you so much, Ram. I really am honored and grateful to have you here and sharing the wisdom on your knowledge on my channel. And thank you so much for your time. I really believe, I think this is what I wanted to say. I think in Rig Veda, I believe it mentions let your noble thoughts come to us from everywhere. And
Yes.
I wanted to thank you so much for sharing these ennobling thoughts with us today. And please follow Ram on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and check out his website as well for the mantra meditations that will definitely help connect to the divine. It's one passage to connect to the divine. And yeah, for the teachings. I'm really honored and thankful for this time.
Thank you, Ratika.
Thank you. Okay. Just going to end this now. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.